So I'm cat sitting my friend Jenny's cats, and one of them has run out the door. She saw a stray that she doesn't like in her front yard through the window, and now she's run off and is somewhere behind these bushes. I hope that I can find her before she runs off because she doesn't even have her collar on. She was just inside the house. I opened the door to try to shoo away the stray cat, and now Shambi has run off. I am cat sitting a friend's cats, and as you saw from that clip, one of them ran out of the house and climbed up a tree. Shambi. So I thought this would be a good moment to give you all some tips about cat sitting, not only if you're asked to cat sit, but also if you are going to get a cat sitter for your cats. Shambi. Now, if you have cats, you would probably at some point be asked to cat sit by a friend. Shambi. It's natural because you have cats and they expect that you know something about cats and will be a good cat sitter. Shambi, come on. Shambi, come on. My name is Francisco and welcome to 9 Lives to Live, where I help you improve the lives of your indoor cats. Almost all of us at some point have to go somewhere beyond our homes, and it's important to figure out what's the best thing to do with our cats. For the most part, cats do better in their own home, and so a cat sitter is the best solution. Taking cats away from their homes creates a lot of stress for cats, and they can act out because of it. So finding a reliable cat sitter is important for most people. My first recommendation is that you prepare for cat sitting, and that if you're getting a cat sitter, you ask them to prepare also. Do not just collect the keys and figure out the rest later. It's important to meet the cats, figure out a little bit about their personalities, and figure out which ones are skittish and more likely to hide, and which ones are more open and likely to be around. It's also important for them to get a little bit used to you and your voice, so that you will not be a complete stranger when you arrive at their home for the first time. Now, I didn't have that issue with my friend Jenny's cats because I know them very well and they know my voice and have seen me around many times. One of the things you'll want to do when you first arrive cat sitting is identify where all the cats are. Make sure you see all of them. And so you need to know their hiding places. So in advance, ask to see where these cats like to stay, where they like to hide, where they like to go, so that you can find them easily if you cannot see all of them.
Fluffy, where have you been? I've been calling you. Come on.
It'll save you a lot of time. Although most of the time nothing happens, you need to plan for the worst. So know where their vet is. Get the phone number for their vet. Know where the local emergency vet is if you don't live in the area. You should also have some kind of payment system in place because many vets will not do work on an animal unless they are paid. And so unless you're willing to put your credit card to pay for any services, you need to have an understanding of what the payment arrangement is in case there is an emergency. You need to know if any of the cats are on medicines or take special foods. And if they are on medicines, how to give them the medicine, because this is usually a very difficult process, even for cat owners whom the cats trust.
Open. Open.
And if they hardly even know you, it's going to be very difficult for you to give them the medicine. Also, have an emergency plan in case there's a delay. People have experienced delays on travel many times. Their flights are delayed, their flights are canceled, they lose their passports. There can be all kinds of things. And especially if there's a medical emergency and somebody ends up in the hospital for a few days, what is going to happen with the cats? Are you going to be able to continue babysitting them, or is some other arrangement going to have to be made? It's useful to know these things in advance, especially because in many cases you will not be able to communicate with the owners of the cats. Also, make sure that you know where there is a spare key in case you lock the key in the house or you lose it. you'll need to be able to get back in the house without breaking in the door or getting a locksmith. So usually there's a spare key somewhere, know who has it or where it's hidden so that you can get in the house and take care of the cats in case something happens to the key. So as I mentioned, the first thing that I do when I go into a house is I identify where all of them are. I want to see them. I want to make sure that they are healthy, that they're looking normal, that they aren't looking particularly stressed. One time I was watching Jenny's cats and one of them, Shambi, got stuck in the TV cabinet. She got in behind it and she couldn't climb back out. When I arrived at the house, there was this pitiful meowing coming out from the TV stand, and I had to go in there and help her to get out. When I find the cats, I generally like to touch them, even if it's just a little bump, because that's the way they greet each other. They bump into each other, they take a little smell, and if you can do that for them, they'll feel a little bit more comfortable than just a stranger wandering around in their space. Beyond that, your primary responsibilities are feeding them, making sure that they have enough water, taking care of their litter boxes, and playing with them. Now, feeding cats is generally relatively simple. Jenny has 5 cats and they all have different tastes and different places where they eat so that they don't interfere with each other or eat each other's foods. So you need to know about the cats that you're going to be watching. Do they have any peculiarities? Do they need to be put in particular places? All of this is part of understanding what will make them feel comfortable. It's important for cats to have a routine, and if you can follow their routine as close as possible, that would be great. Check their water dishes if the cats eat a lot of dry food, because they need to be able to drink. Make sure that the water is fresh and that it doesn't have any contaminants. Sometimes cats won't drink water if there's something that has fallen into it. I think it's also important to play with the cats as much as you can. It keeps them active, it keeps them engaged, and I think in general it reduces their stress. Jenny's cats in particular like the laser and they like the feather on the stick. Both of those are great toys. They're very interactive. It's useful if you can know which cats like to play the most and how they like to engage. Now, Jenny has a catio and a corral, so I also have to go out there, make sure that the catio and the corral are still okay, that there's no problems there. I do a little bit of a perimeter check, and if the cats are outside, I have to go out there and find them. Now, these enclosures do not let them wander off, but allow them to have a little bit of the outdoor experience. If you'd like to find out more about either the catio or the corral, I've made videos about both of those things, and I will put links in the description below. One of her cats in particular, the male, likes to go out on walks, and so sometimes I will take him out on a harness and give him a walk. Now, he is familiar with this, and he's familiar with me giving him a walk, so it's not a big problem. If there are little things like that that you can do for the cats that you're sitting, that is great. Now, here are some things that you should be looking out for. Look out for any signs of anxiety. And by that I mean hiding, not eating, lack of grooming or over-grooming, peeing in places that they shouldn't be peeing. If you do see them, pay particular attention to that cat, and maybe there's some ways that you can relieve the anxiety. One of them might actually be a video phone call with their owners. They will recognize the voice, and sometimes that might relieve a little bit of the anxiety. Products like Fellaway also relieve anxiety. Also check for signs of bullying if there are more than one cat. When I first watched Jenny's cats, Athena, for example, was all the way in the corner of the corral looking out, all the way as far away as she could get from the house. And it made me think that maybe she was being pushed around by some of the other cats because she doesn't get along with all of them. After a couple of days, it seemed like everything was better. Another thing to check for is to see if there are things out of place. Have the plants been attacked? Are things knocked over? Is there pee in a corner? Or has one of the cats been spraying on the door? All of these things are signs that maybe you need to pay more attention or stay a little bit longer or pet them more or play with them more. There might be something going on. Look around and make sure that none of them are throwing up. Some of them can throw up because of stress. I know that this last time there was some throwing up going on, but I found little pieces of grass, which they probably ate when they were out in the corral. And I know that grass causes them to throw up, so I wasn't particularly worried about it. And by all means, watch the door when you go in and out of the house. Shambi escaped on me out the front door, and I had to wander around trying to get her. But eventually, because she knows me, she allowed me to pick her up and put her back. So nothing terrible happened because of that experience, but it just is a reminder to be always careful because cats can be very fast and I think sometimes rather sneaky when they want something. If you have other tips about cat sitting or cat sitters that you have experienced, please put them in the description below. It would be very helpful for the people watching this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.